and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where yes, there is plenty more Barca news on the way, and indeed, Nico Williams continues to be the centre of attention. Today we're going to be talking about whether Barca can actually sign him this summer. What will it take, and what sort of position are we in right now? And say that he does arrive, how will that affect those around him? Which players could be affected? And how will Barca shape up with Nico in the team? And we also have an update on the future of Marc-Andre Ter Stegen. It is all on the way for you. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and let's do this. Because I did think it was very, very interesting indeed that with so much speculation already about, okay, where would Nico play? How would he play at Barca? Who would he replace in the lineup? I thought it was really, really intriguing to see Raphinha joining Lamine Yamal. He actually posted there on his official Facebook page about Nico Williams, a photo here with the two of them together, with the symbols as well. That is very, very interesting, because yeah, a lot of people, and when I say people, I mean Madrid fans, they were actually saying that Yamal posting about Nico Williams was somehow disrespectful to Raphinha, that actually Yamal wasn't appreciating what he did last season by posting about another winger. But obviously that's nonsense. And to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me here if Raphinha posting about Nico was almost there in some kind of support of Yamal, such is their incredible relationship. But sure, I mean, a lot of people probably are still wondering though, okay, if Nico Williams though is signed at Barca, and it does remain an if, as we're going to talk about in a moment, how would that affect Raphinha though, given that he is coming off the back of a wonderful season? He has had an absolutely world-class campaign. What would that mean for Raphinha? Nico coming in at the club, would it hurt his position in the team? Would it hurt his minutes there on the field? And let me just be very, very clear, I don't believe that Nico would be coming to replace Raphinha. In case that needed saying, let's say it right here. I don't see it as the club's plan here to replace Raphinha. I definitely don't see it as Hansi Flick's plan. He loves Raphinha. He absolutely adores him in his team. He is one of the first names there on the team sheet for Hansi Flick. But of course, don't forget that the beauty of Raphinha, you know, such is his skill set, such is the talent that he has. He is an incredibly versatile attacking player. So what that means is, he doesn't always have to play on the left. He doesn't always have to play as a winger. And in fact, you'd have to say, if you watch Barca regularly last season, which a lot of people talking about this situation clearly haven't, he was actually a lot more effective at times, even more effective down the middle, playing there in a more central position. That's where he likes to be anyway. He likes to cut in, he likes to make those central runs, and Raphinha playing almost as the 10, that could certainly be an option too. So it's very possible here that Raphinha could play with Nico, that they could actually play together in the same lineup, and along with Lamine Yamal as well. I mean, think about that trio there, in behind a striker. That is sensational. But indeed then, guys, if you are thinking about that kind of trio, the next question would have to be, well, how would Nico's arrival then affect Dani Olmo if Raphinha is going to play more centrally at times? Would Olmo then be a bit out of the picture? I mean, I don't think that either. Because look, Olmo wasn't always available last season. We're hoping that this time around he can be more injury-free. We don't know that that's going to happen. You've got to prepare yourself for every eventuality. But he's another player in this team who's incredibly versatile. I mean, I could actually see Dani Olmo moving forward a little bit. I could see him playing a few more games there in that false nine role as well, because he's got the ability for it. We saw that last season. He can really adapt well to that role, and whether Lewandowski will play the same amount of games that we've seen him play this season, we don't know. Will Ferran have the same form about him? And I just think all of these things here, they point in one direction. Flick wants more options in his team. Would Nico provide that there, coming in on the left? Would that give us more license in other areas to explore different game plans? It absolutely would. And do not forget as well, guys, we want to rest players like Raphinha. We want to give Lamine Yamal more rest than he had last season, but without sacrificing results. That's why we have to strengthen the squad with real quality, because there's so many games. You can't get away from that. There is so many games right now in a club season. We know we have to rotate. You know you've got to change around your lineup. Every player will have a part to play. Every player there will give something to the team. And what you want is good competition for places, 2 quality players in every position, and one thing is for sure, Nico, he brings quality. But indeed, guys, with all of this talk about Nico Williams, and especially now, I mean, we're even thinking about potential lineups, we're even thinking about what positions he could play and who's going to go where and when. But are we getting a bit ahead of ourselves? Because are Barca genuinely in a position this summer to actually sign Nico Williams? That's the big question right now going on in the media. There's certainly conflicting reports on that. And that's what I want to discuss a little bit more here. This Nico Williams release clause, because I think it needs a bit of unpacking. Because what we do know is that release clause stands at actually just over 60 million euros. Right now we're hearing multiple reports say that it's around 62 million, which I maintain, that is still a very, very fair price for somebody of Nico's talent, his quality, and especially when you take into account his age and the club that he's at. But it's not necessarily the amount, the price there, that's going to cause Barca the problem. It's not that we can't afford Nico, that we can't afford, say, 60 million euro signings. It's all about the way that payment needs to be structured. Because obviously, the way that release clauses work in Spain is that 62 million, if you wanted Nico, if you wanted to effectively buy him out of that Athletic Club contract, you would need to go to La Liga, deposit that money in its entirety right now. So Barca would need to have, on them right now, in cash essentially, 62 million to spend. And from an accounting point of view as well, all of that transfer fee then, it goes in this tax year. You can't spread it out. It's all happening now. And why does that make it different maybe from other kinds of deals? Well, these days, when it comes to big signings, when it comes to clubs here paying big money for players, which happens very, very frequently, what you will find is that there's always installments involved. If you buy a player these days for 80, 100 million euros, whatever it is, you will agree a payment structure with the selling club. It'll be, okay, I'm going to give you 20 million a year for the next 3 years. I'm going to give you 20 million a year for the next 5 years. Think of it basically like Klarna, but for football clubs. It's quite big money, but they do like to stagger those payments there to keep some cash nice and liquid at the club. And that is why, in so many cases here, when you're talking about release clauses, you can often see the buying club offering the selling club more money than the release clause is actually worth. And a lot of people think, well, why would you pay more than the clause? Why would you go above that? Just pay the money. But that's because they might have agreed actually to pay more in exchange for being able to pay it in installments there. And no doubt that's something that Barca would love to do with Nico Williams. They would love to spread that cost there, especially as well, you can't forget this, that they've already had to pay one release clause this summer. They have already had to come up with the entirety of Joan Garcia's release clause from Espanyol. So Barca have already gone through that process once. And the problem, though, that we have, if you're talking about installments, if you're talking here about negotiating, forget that. We are dealing with Athletic Club. Their transfer policy dictates they never, ever want to sell their key players, especially when they know how hard it's going to be to replace them. They only sign players in the Basque region, and that means they don't negotiate. You cannot negotiate with Athletic Club. It is the release clause, or it's nothing. Go away. We don't want to talk to you. Do not expect any help at all from Athletic Club. And because even, well, if that wasn't already enough, there's also the relationship between Barca and Athletic Club right now. It's at rock bottom. It's very, very volatile between the two clubs. After Athletic's actions and their words during the Negreira case and Dani Olmo's registration, where they actively pushed for Barca to be punished. So yeah, if a deal is to be done between these two clubs to sign Nico Williams, Barca have to pay the clause. Barca have to come up with the money right here, right now, and pay it in full. That's the only way that you're going to get him. Which is very, very interesting, because maybe what Barca could be helped by this summer are certain departures at the club. They would certainly like to free up more and more wage space. They want to be nicely within that La Liga salary limit, of course. And of course, any money that they can bring in transfer fees would only help boost the club's finances. Well, let's go on to talk then about Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, because I think everybody in the Barca fan base got very, very excited this morning when there was a report from the Turkish media that said, Galatasaray have reached an agreement with Ter Stegen. That they've actually gone to him there. We knew the Galatasaray are interested. We knew they were going to try and approach Ter Stegen. And the Turkish media implied they had agreed a move with him. And they said then the only thing remaining now is to sort out with Barca a transfer fee. But I think already the alarm bells are ringing on that one. We were thinking that has to be too good to be true right here, because the Catalan media have since come out and said there is no agreement here between Ter Stegen and Galatasaray at this stage. Barca also, let's not forget, I don't think they're going to ask for anything. You know, there's talk here about a transfer fee. I don't think there's going to be any conversation. We will be happy to get rid of Ter Stegen, to let him go for free if it means saving on those wages. But what I do have to say, guys, before we all lose any kind of hope on this, Galatasaray remain interested, okay? That is something there that is true. They are interested in Ter Stegen. You know, we don't know if Ter Stegen would be open to a move to the Turkish Super League, but we also know he would like to play ahead of the World Cup next summer, something that is not going to happen at Barcelona. And what we also know right now is that Ter Stegen, it's not that he's rejected any proposals that have come his way, it's not that he really has turned away interest, but he just hasn't made any decision at this stage. Because what he is doing right now, he is waiting to hold official talks with the club until he has met there directly with Deco, until he's spoken as well, I'm sure, with Hansi Flick. He will not make any final decision on his future. And what I would say is, if I'm the club right now, get that conversation underway. You know, what are we waiting for? I know there's holidays, I know there's different things going on right now, but this is something that has to be addressed as soon as possible here. Talk to Ter Stegen, let him know exactly where he stands, and then we can all get on with our life. And whilst we are on the topic here of goalkeepers, guys, just to also confirm again that Ter Stegen won't be the only goalkeeper on the market this summer from Barca's side, because Iñaki Peña will also leave the club. We know that he's quite unhappy right now. He certainly doesn't see eye to eye with Hansi Flick. Of course, he was dropped mid-season for Szczesny. Peña would like to leave as a result, and he has 1 year remaining on his contract. What we're hearing today in the media is that he would like to stay in La Liga. He is prioritising offers right now from Spain. Sevilla might be a club who appear for him, but he is almost certainly going to leave. And that is again something that should be confirmed in these busy weeks ahead. So that there, guys, is the very latest roundup right now on the Barca front, and I thank you indeed for joining me. I would like to know your thoughts there on that Nico release clause, and of course the latest news on Ter Stegen's future. What do you anticipate happening with that? I will leave you here, guys. Thank you for your support here and over on MORETALKFCB with the TalkFCB news series. I really, really appreciate your support and all the laughs as well. I will catch you soon. Thank you indeed for watching. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça.